Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of Yellowjackets Season 2, Episode 7, Burial. Just wanted to thank everybody. I finally hit 30k subs, so really appreciate all the Yellowjackets fans that helped me out here and people been with me since day one. I think of all you guys, and it's a team effort here and a win we can celebrate together, so I'm grateful for that. Just wanted to say that. So with my review for this week, let's start with everything going on in the past, and then we'll jump into the present day. Now, we're going right from the direct aftermath of what happened with Shauna's baby in this very traumatic moment for Shauna and a very intense episode. And they open with Something in the Way by Nirvana. Unfortunately, I thought this would have worked great if the Batman didn't play the song to death in their promos and the film itself. So it's starting to feel like as I was watching it, said that song is now implanted Batman in my head. So maybe that took me out of a little bit because of that movie and how soon they're using it after that movie using it so much. But it still worked for me, but maybe just personally that made me think of Robert Pattinson was going to show up at any moment. So Shauna is really in shambles here, and Ty's trying to encourage her to walk, drink water. She's not really doing any of this, but she does eventually get up and bury the baby under a bunch of rocks. Let's just pray nobody eats that baby at some point. Now, after she buries the baby, it cuts to the new Alanis Morissette version of the theme song. And I was a big supporter of the first version, and I really like how this version sounded in the food court scene, but I don't like how it sounded here. It was a little different than the food court scene. The vocals were same, but the instrumental was different. It was off to me. I didn't like it here. So I want to hear how they had cut it in the food court scene at some point, because this was not right to me. Didn't like it. Now, we see in the past, Van's actually wearing the forest green color hoodie, the exact green that the Van in the present day is wearing as adult Van, and forest greens usually symbolizes balance and growth, and I think that was on purpose that Van is wearing that forest green right now when she's saying to Ty that she's not about all this Lottie belief in voodoo all of a sudden. She's switching, so I think that's growth. I think what the show is showing you when you're not going by the Lottie visions, that you are actually sane, and that is the way to be, not believing in this spirituality that is making them do crazy things. It seems like now, surprisingly, that Van is going that way in the past, that it was this early to me. So we're kind of seeing through, knowing that Van is more sane in the present day about all this, that probably Van stays that way from this point on in the past, which is very fascinating to me and makes me think that they're sticking with that green, because it's showing you like she's had her growth moment here, and maybe there'll be some balance to her and how much of this faith she believes in now, if any, at this current time in the past. And it makes me worry for adult Van, knowing the big reveal of this episode is that she had cancer, and that how much time do we have left with Van, and that she's probably going to be the hardest to convince to go over to Lottie's side in the present day at this point. She might be the voice of reason at the end of the day and lead to her tragic end with the cancer. We'll see. And poor Ty's like, oh, come on, you're backing out now and I'm getting into this stuff. Like, it helped me with the sleepwalking. I can hear now. I could see it was you. Poor Ty. Now, Ben has lost it so much here that he's now hallucinating Paul in the cabin itself. And what's interesting about this is Paul answers a phone and he's like, but he isn't ready, talking about Ben. And Paul says to Ben, you had to know you couldn't stay here forever. This isn't your hiding place. What matters is you're not welcome here anymore. And he's like, you didn't do anything. It's just time. I love you. We all love you, Ben. So it's like Paul is getting answers directly from this evil spirit we think that is in the woods here, that is telling Paul, and now Paul telling Ben that it's his time to go. And Ben now is fully on the path to commit suicide, and he does like that honorable type of shave before he's going to take his honorable suicide and death. He's a man ready to go, and he's accepted it. And it's interesting. I want to jump to Misty real quick when she finds Ben about to jump. And he asks Misty, can you just push me off? And Misty goes, if you kill yourself, we will eat you. I will savor every moment of it, especially your high-calorie butt meat. That was a great humorous line. But then Misty goes full threat mode, because that's not even working. He's like, I don't care if you do that. But she says she's going to ruin his image to the world. All these lies about Ben to the public, but one truth that she actually threatens him with, that she's going to tell everyone he's gay. And he says, do it, tell them. So Ben's even fine with that at this point. He's come to terms with that, and that he should go public about it. But then Misty goes, I tried so hard to keep the baby alive. Please, Ben, I can't have another death on my hands. But when she says that particular line, I actually took that as her thinking about Crystal, not the baby. But this does stop Ben from jumping. I do think he has some sympathy for Misty here and doesn't want to have her feel that guilt at this current moment, so it keeps Ben living another day. Now, this was an important episode for Misty in the past as well. We see that Mari tells Jen and Akila she thinks Misty did something to Crystal. So this sets Misty off to cover herself from everybody else finding out what actually happened to Crystal. So Misty then makes this pep talk up about we need to look for Crystal. She's saving face here. But Misty will also conveniently hear all these conversations this episode, which is like, okay. But they did it twice, right? Where like Jen is saying that maybe we'll eat Crystal. You know, I don't saying we should, but it would be a waste not to if we find her. And that makes Misty want to go now save Crystal from getting eaten by them. I think this is setting up they will find Crystal by the end of this season. And this is going to be a big moment for Misty trying to stop them from eating Crystal. This is going to be probably something we see in the finale, I'm going to predict. And Misty doesn't find Crystal's body, so it's not going to be Misty who finds Crystal. She had her moment to, and it did not happen. So some of the jackets are sounding crazy here because they're justifying as like, oh, you know, the wilderness is still answering us. We had 2 deaths here in their mind thinking of Crystal and the baby trading off for the blizzard to stop. Like, that's how the wilderness is behaving. But Lottie clears up and says the wilderness did what we wanted in saving Shauna. It's a lot of justification for the wilderness. But at the end of the day, the wilderness did not save the baby. So they're still kind of just in denial about that in the sense of what the wilderness can actually do and protect them. Because they want that hope, right? It's making a comment on religion, too, and spirituality, and the thought of, oh, okay, like, it conveniently works for me, the religion and how it protected me in losing somebody, but that other person it didn't protect. Yeah, about that. Never mind. You know, it's that kind of thing. And they're even praying for Crystal to the wilderness, but we know already Crystal's dead. Doesn't even matter. Lottie tells Ty that she can find Crystal because she's the one who found Javi. And Ty's like, that wasn't me. That was the other me. And she's like, well, ever since we did the circles, I've been sleepwalking no more, and I think this other woman is gone. But Lottie's like, no. She's not, and that's a good thing, Ty. And we'll see in present day, Lottie also says something very similar to Ty, which we're going to get to, and the importance and belief she has in this other Ty. I also want to make a point, too. Some of the production design, not great here. When Misty was looking for Crystal in the snow, that snow, in particular, more than any moment in this season, looked like cottage cheese. I don't know what was going on there. It just took me out of it. One thing that also bothered me was when Ben was talking to Misty, that it really looked like a set here, because it is a set, but the lighting didn't help, and the background just reminded me of like the sets of Wizard of Oz, just didn't look real at all. Now, I'm trying to give benefit of doubt because with critics, we get screeners that are not finished, and it clearly states in the email, so I'm hoping that the version you guys saw on TV looked better, but for me, there wasn't any color effects yet or VFX that could help it yet, so maybe they did. So let me know if it looked better, but screener-wise, it just looks so fake, that scene with the lighting, but let me know how it looked for you guys. But I'm not going to criticize them for that again because this is the screener copy I got, but I will say that cottage cheese should have been way better, that snow. Come on. Now, everything happened with Shauna here. When Van reveals the bloody blanket in front of Shauna, which was just a bad idea, that just seems silly. Also, that Van just did it like that, like, hey, check this out. But Shauna attaches that bloody blanket to the bloody blanket she saw in the nightmare of them eating the baby. So Shauna's really losing it here and kind of looking at that as what really happened. And it's interesting, this leads Shauna to go to her shed where she used to talk to Jackie, and she misses Jackie, even the ghost form Jackie, and is like, I need your help right now. I really think this is making me think that those theories that Shauna at some point is the Antler Queen, because if we see that Mari, aka Pit Girl, I'm calling her Pit Girl because she's obviously Pit Girl, but that she's wearing the necklace is Jackie's necklace, right? That's going to be a thing that moves on, and we know Shauna has it, that she would be the one to come up with the idea that she's going to probably talk to Jackie in some way that's not the real Jackie, that's going to appear again as a vision and guide her to what her choices are, because she's asking Jackie for help here. So maybe that's why people are wearing the Jackie necklace that are sacrificed. Something connects there, I'm going to go with. That'd be kind of cool, I think. Now, Shauna comes in at the end of the episode, and they're doing the prayer circle, so they kind of hide it away from Shauna that they're still doing it. She freaks out, goes to Misty, you killed my baby, and then she's like, you all ate my baby. And Lottie's like taking one from the team, literally. She's ready to be the punching bag, and she's like, Shauna, let it out. And she even says, Shauna, we need you. But the way they directed the scene, I wasn't crazy about, because they had Shauna punching her like crazy. But how they all were standing there and didn't just stop her when it was getting like way overboard. Obviously, that she almost killed Lottie was ridiculous to me. It just was bogus. I was like, okay, come on. Like, she was so beaten by Shauna, like disturbingly bad. But I would have been fine with that if maybe one person was there that was hesitating, but for everyone to stand there and just let that go on as long as it did was a little unbelievable to me. But you see, it already brought some of Shauna back to earth a bit with her just saying, Lottie, you okay? But you see she goes outside, looks at her hands that are bloody now. She's becoming this monster, and we'll see what happens with her. And again, I think it's leaning towards those series more and more that she at least might be the first Antler Queen that eventually changes to Lottie. We'll see. But overall, this was not my favorite, even past storyline here. I thought it just felt a little off. And I think that the whole season's felt a little off at a lot of parts, but I don't know. I didn't love it, but it was fine. It was still interesting. Things are changing. We'll see where it goes. But in overall enjoyment value, I thought it was okay. Now let's jump to present day, which everyone was very excited about because we have the crew back together now. But I always find this show is strange because, yes, the tones are so different because present day is more comedic, and it's supposed to be that way because of how heavy the stuff is in the past. But there's some parts where I almost feel like it's taking too much liberty, where we're finally all together, but it's such a slow pace of them really talking everything out. And you just want characters to say stuff to each other that they still all get on like a happy, getting along and very comic tone where you're still like, just with all the stuff we see with Shauna and Lottie, like, I'm still trying to figure out how Shauna does not have more reaction to Lottie or any strong feelings, either they're good or bad about Lottie. They're just not really there. And it can be frustrating because it's so just chill with all them right away, picking their therapies for the day. So that's where you kind of like, okay, I thought, it'd be a little more conflict here, but I see it's getting to that. It's building up to it. But how much buildup have we already been through where I think people are really losing their patience with the present day storyline, and this didn't help. And we see Nat, like I predicted, is really in this Lottie headspace now, not fully, but is getting there and sees Lottie as someone who helped her and trying to convince them, like, we brought stuff that's dark from the past in that place, we can start dealing with it now. And she opens up to them about how she tried to kill herself and that Lottie saved her. But they breeze over this big information so fast at points that everything with them all together as adults just felt off. It's not working as it should. And I'm going to say this because I've been waiting and reserving judgment, but I think I've seen enough now that when you see them all together, it really shows that, I don't know, I don't think Simone Kessel was the perfect cast as Lottie, and I don't even really have to do with any of the acting. I think she's a really good actress. I just think it was a miscast. I don't feel the vibe of Lottie here at all. And I'm like, okay, because we've seen now, this is the adult Lottie who's different from the past Lottie, clearly. But then now she's going into past Lottie again. And through all of that, I'm not feeling any semblance to the Lottie from the past. And now it's starting to show when they're all together. And there's not that click of all of them feeling like the versions we saw. And yes, they're different as adults. But again, all of them, I still feel a vibe of that character from the past. But Lottie's, I don't feel it. That's my take. I think everyone's got different opinions on that. So we'll see, though, with these branches of treatment, Shauna has self-care. But it's funny because it's really like the opposite, right? Where she thinks she's going to be taking care of herself, but she's actually taking care of something else with this baby goat. It's a little annoying to me, though, too, because this is the same exact kind of plot lesson we already got with Nat and the Goldfish. So they're repeating the same effective therapy to Shauna. I wish it was something different. But it all leads to her dealing with her having trouble as a parent with Callie, and that she's afraid of being close to Callie because, like she says, she had a fear she would die or that maybe she was never even real to begin with. So I'm sure they're playing that line to have Reddit have a field day with that. But she's learning to, like, be okay as just her mom, and it's safe to think of her as that, as hers. And she says, I think something is broken, Lottie, I just can't do it. But you see the progress in Shauna because when Jeff calls her later, Shauna's like, hey, is Callie okay? She's able to say that. She's able to think of it calmly. So that therapy's working for Shauna. And then Misty here has guidance, which you would think someone's guiding her, like she says, but it's not that. It's a self-deprivation tank. So I thought that was interesting, too, because it's showing you that how that therapy was worked out by Lottie and her treatments is like, you're picking it. So you're picking what you think you need, but they're giving you what you really need. But we see the guidance for Misty is going to come from within. Now, when Misty has her hallucinations through the sensory deprivation tank, she sees a piranha, which I think is a coincidence. Piranha being known for, reputation wise at least, as eating humans. We also see dolphins. That is lost on me. So if someone could point out why the dolphins, I couldn't remember for the life of me what that was referencing with Misty, or if we even know yet. So let me know in the comments. We see Walter as a magician, and just visions of Walter she's thinking of in the past. Same with thinking of Crystal, and of course Caligula. And we get this musical number with the human Caligula we've seen teased in the opening credits, and a syringe we see in cartoon form, and of course the black box she destroyed. And she says to Caligula, "When people look at me, do they see someone desperate for love or some murderer?" And he goes, "Take it after a bird who was named after an emperor who was also unjustly accused of heinous acts." So it's explaining more why the bird's named Caligula. But this is not the case with Misty, because Misty did kill Jessica. She is a murderer. But she's like, "You are not a murderer, Misty. You're a closer." And this is her justifying what she does. And it's interesting in this moment too, the Queen of Hearts card is sitting there on the mirror, which we've seen obviously with Lottie, and she has that connection to the cards as well, Misty. So they again definitely use that for some kind of ritual of how they chose who to eat. But you see Misty loves Walter, and that's shown through the hearts here in the phone call, and she's thanking Caligula for guiding her to go for it with Walter. And she says to Walter, "You were right about the thing. When it comes to trust, hard for me to take that leap with someone," which makes sense because when she opened up to Crystal about the black box, Crystal reacted the way she didn't expect. So she's expecting Walter was going to react like Crystal. But that is changed now. Now she thinks, hey, he's going to understand this. He's going to be open with me. He's like me. Now, he wasn't totally right about the thing, because remember, he was implying that she actually did the murder herself, which she did not. So this is bad. This is bad news, because this is now letting Walter in that Misty was involved with this murder of Adam. So not only do we get this big reveal that the police have found his remains at the end of the episode, that we also have Misty confirming to somebody outside of the jacket she was involved. I just want to say, though, about that being the cliffhanger, it's one of those things where you're like, where is this going? Meaning, I don't find it that interesting, the story of Adam and the mystery of if they're going to get caught or not for killing him. They've been dragging this for a long time now, and I'm more interested in the drama of Lottie with the other jackets and what's going to happen between them. So it's angling towards the finish line of the season is going to be resolving this Adam thing, if Sean is going to get caught or not, if Misty's going to get caught, Ty, Nat, and being involved with it. But it's not the most exciting stuff in that present day story. I think that's what really hurts it and makes it feel like it really drags at times. And it's annoying to watch, where we want more conflict. We're watching them all dance together and party together and get along, and you have this as the big bomb drop. So you want more of a bomb drop between them, which is going to get there, obviously, because, again, Lottie's going full Lottie now, and we'll see who sides with her or not. But I think we're just so testing our patience here with the present day that to see this was still like, okay, it's not like getting me hooked right now. And I think people were finally relieved to take a break from the Jeff and Callie story, and it's already coming back in one episode, so I don't think that's the best thing either right now. And that involves pacing here and pacing issues in the season. Now, we see that Lottie talks to Ty and is like, that other you always had a deep connection to the wilderness and has wisdom too, because Ty tells Lottie that it's back. She's like, she may not want to hurt your family, just doesn't want to be suppressed. She's still a part of you, Ty, and always will be. So Ty's going to be a big factor in the present day, and how Lottie's going to use her for her advantage and her believing in these visions. Now, Ty takes off her wedding ring, and Ty and Van kiss, and Van's like, I can't wait for you, literally, because she has cancer. This is another reveal. Problem with the show is that now it is getting a bit too predictable, because a lot of stuff this episode all over Reddit was predicted right, so that can be problematic too. But she says it's not a good cancer and has months to live. It's not something that's going to really be cured. So this, to me, is just setting up Van going out as someone who is more on the right side here. That she's not going to be setting up her that's going to be easily convinced as Lottie. Because she's already had a transformation from leaving the Lottie beliefs in the past. So for her to go back again would be a lot. But what I'm talking about predictability too is the reveal that Lottie's therapist is a hallucination here. It's Lottie talking to herself. Or really, it's Lottie talking to the It. And this reminded me so much, I don't know if it's a coincidence, like the It from the Stephen King story and being back with the older group. And you see it's influencing Lottie to be free, not self-suppress. That's when you are your truest, authentic self. And she's like, does a hunt that has no violence feed anyone once revealed to be the Antler Queen's spirit? And Lottie talking to herself. Or is it the spirit talking to herself? We never really know. But again, predictable, but interesting. And you see Lottie almost has a moment of resistance because she tells everyone to go home, But they're like, no, now we want to all drink and hang out. But Nat asked them at one point how much y'all remember of that time. And Lottie's like, suppressed memories always manifest in some way. So that's interesting too. And that's foreshadowing what's going to happen here in the present. And now it starts snowing and they're dancing to it. And the snowing is important to me because that's what was happening so much in our past timeline. So it's showing that past coming more and more into the present and how they're behaving, especially with the primal calls around the fire. And we get the big reveal about Adam's remains being found. So we'll see what happens with that. But overall, this was my least favorite of the season because it just had a lot of moments that felt off, predictable, and it made me more worried for the show as a whole of where it's going. Because having the big group here together was something I was really excited about, and it just doesn't feel right. For some reason, it's not clicking. So I'm giving this one a 7.2, also because in the past wasn't that strong to me either, especially with the Shauna scene and punching Lottie. It was just way over the top to me and wasn't believable with them just standing there to the level it went. So I hope that these final 2 episodes deliver because they need to, because I'm still a proponent of this has been a very strong season and I've liked it as a whole better than season 1. But I'm not in the popular opinion there. This show has been trending downward in reaction this season and people are getting more angry about it and not liking it as much. So from an unbiased perspective, it needs to deliver in these last 2 episodes to keep people with it because it cannot fall short this finale, or will lose people quick, especially in this day and age where there's so much to watch. So I hope it delivers these final 2 episodes, but this made me now a little worried and seeing where the cracks are coming. But this just in general, though, as an episode as a whole, wasn't crazy bad. So I'm giving it a 7.2. Let me know what you thought down below, though. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. I read every comment. I try to respond to as many as I can. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss one of my reviews of Yellowjackets. I'll be doing every single episode. And please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And I'll see you next time.